Crazy that I started talking before hitting record, and that could have gone very badly on my part. Very exciting week this week because we are nearing Christmas, the new year, and I get some quality time off from work, which means a lot of time to read. Also, a very exciting video because I collaborated with a brand that I truly, really deeply love, and I can't wait to share more. But with that, you know the drill. Let's talk about everything we're reading this week, starting off with The Artist's Way, week 11. We've made it. We have 2 more weeks to go, week 11 this week, and then week 12 next week. So finishing up The Artist's Way during the week of Christmas. I feel like the timing is perfect because I have Christmas Eve through New Year's Day off. So it'll give me a chance to process everything that I've learned throughout the last few months from The Artist's Way and give me some break, much needed break before I start off the new year. And I've really enjoyed going through The Artist's Way. I can't wait to share my takeaways, what I really enjoyed about The Artist's Way, what I might not so much, which you all probably might know by now if you've been following along on my Artist's Way journey. This week is week 11, Recovering a Sense of Autonomy. This week we focus on our artistic autonomy. We examine the ongoing ways in which we must nurture and accept ourselves as artists. We explore the behaviors that can strengthen our spiritual base and therefore our creative power. We take a look at the ways in which success might be handled in order that we not sabotage our freedom. I'm a big fan of freedom and free will, so we'll see how this week goes. And then what we are reading for this week, I need to take a break from fantasy and romantasy. For this video, I'm going to be reading Swallows by Natsuo Kirino. For the month of November and December, I gave myself a loose 10 before the end. And also, one of my goals was to finish any advanced reader copies that I have been gifted physically before the end of the year, and I believe this is the last one. I have 2 romances that I was gifted, and I'm not in the mood to read those, so we'll save those for spring, but I'm pretty proud of myself for this being my last physical arc that I received. This should be really interesting. Speaking of autonomy, this is a story about bodily autonomy. Based on the synopsis, this is a story about Riki who lives in Tokyo. She wants a way out. She wants a new life. She wants change, and she can't necessarily do that right now because she doesn't have the money and the power within her community to do so. Motoi and Yuko are a wealthy couple who want nothing more than to bring a child into their lives, and I believe their paths are going to cross with Riki because they're going to go through a surrogacy process with this clinic called Plante Clinic. This is a story about motherhood, self-worth, bodily autonomy, and class. I have really just been enjoying reading books outside of my comfort zone. Last week I read On Sundays She Picked Flowers, and I absolutely loved that book. I would have never picked it up, and same goes for Swallows. I want to read more books that make me think critically, read more books that make me question the story and also question what I know in life. I feel like when I read books that challenge me, it helps me learn and grow as an individual from a more intellectual level. I've also realized that I enjoy picking books for reading vlogs that I normally wouldn't have because it helps me articulate my thoughts as I'm reading through the book and help me process my emotions and feelings towards a book. So I hope I enjoyed this book and I hope you enjoy this video. But welcome to this video, and let's see where the week takes us. afternoon coffee is always a must, especially during these long winter days. So cheers, sip, sip, hooray. I have a reading update and I've done a really bad job of giving first impressions because surprisingly, I am really enjoying Swallows by Natsuo Kirino. And I am already almost halfway through the book. I am on page 145. I'm surprised for a few reasons. The first being that I thought that this book is a horror, but actually it is a literary fiction, so quite the opposite of horror. I don't know why I thought it would be horror. I think it's because the blurb on the back of the book says, "But when desperation meets desire, who truly holds power?" I think that's the only sentence that made me think that it was a horror, and now reading back to it, I sound crazy. Let's talk about it, shall we? This is a story about multiple people. We get different point of views, which I was not expecting. Also, I was not expecting anything. Let's be honest. I was not expecting anything, and I actually thought I wasn't going to enjoy the book, but here we are. Riki is our main character. She is 29 years old. She's at a point in her life where she doesn't need a man. She doesn't want a man. She's okay being alone. However, with her current situation at hand and her current salary, she cannot be single forever. And she's at a point in her life where she is realizing that she needs to figure out a way to make more money than she makes now, because she is really struggling to even just pay her rent and eat food. She decides that she's going to be the surrogate for a really wealthy couple who want nothing more than to bring a child into this world. Quickly, we are introduced to Motoi and Yuko, and let me tell you, their relationship and dynamic is so complicated, and it actually makes me very uncomfortable. And I'm sure their relationship has been strained and emotionally just stunted ever since finding out that they can't produce kids naturally and need to find help in some form. The story is in third person point of view, but I'm finding it really interesting that we're learning about Yuko, Motoi, and Riki, especially because they're probably going to be spending a lot of quality time together once Riki becomes pregnant. Let's take a moment to backtrack and talk a little bit about the location and where the story takes place. The story takes place in Tokyo, Japan, and I had to do my own research because IVF and surrogacy is not illegal in Japan. It's just very uncommon. And so there's a negative stigma around IVF, surrogacy, anything that is not considered natural birthing. And in this story, IVF and surrogacy is actually illegal. So at this clinic called Plantar, which is a US clinic, but there's also a base in Japan. So we know in real life that IVF and surrogacy isn't common. It's really interesting that the author decided to make surrogacy illegal in the story, and I think that causes a little bit more tension and unease with the plot in itself. Riki agrees to be the surrogate so she can birth the child and then make a lot of money so she can start over, start fresh, make a life of her own. Motoi desires for a child for a sense of approval in his community from his mother, from people around him, and also so he can pass on his genes to his child. And Yuko, she wants a child as well, but I'm not seeing it as selfish. I feel like Yuko and Riki kind of have the same mindset of what it truly means to be a surrogate. And Yuko desperately wants a child, but she's just unsure of this process because how this is going to work is that they're going to use Motoi's sperm with Riki's eggs, and Riki is going to birth the baby. This means that none of Yuko's genes are going to be passed down. And she almost feels like she's going to be the outsider looking in and not really be a part of this process. And I really do feel for her. Also, reading about Motoi, he's just really selfish and I don't like him. I really think that there's a lot of misogyny that he is projecting and makes me so mad. At one point, Yuko and Motoi are talking about this idea of surrogacy and this process, and Yuko is just taken aback because it's kind of like the idea of using someone's body and using somebody's body for money, kind of like a business transaction in exchange. And Motoi just says, "We live in a capitalistic society. That's just how life works." I have the exact quote. "We live in a capitalistic society. Everything is ranked." This whole conversation starts because Motoi suggests surrogacy and brings up Plantar, this clinic. And at this clinic, they rank women's eggs based on genetics, based on the person, their looks, their health predispositions, and it's just really uncomfortable. Yuko calls him out on it, and that's what he says. Everything is ranked. Pretty messed up, if you ask me. Plot-wise, I'm almost 50% of the way through. I'm not gonna lie, the writing was a little intimidating to me because of just how small the words were on the paper, but also Japanese literary fiction just seems scary to me. The one literary fiction horror that I read was called The Vegetarian by Hong Kang, and I did not like that book at all. So since then, I was a little nervous to pick this book up, but I'm surprisingly really liking it. It's all about facing fears and reading books that you never thought you would pick up. So I'm thoroughly enjoying the story. It's reading very quickly, and I think it's also because of what the story is about, surrogacy. It's nothing like Baby Mama, let me tell you that, but I am really enjoying just reading from these characters' perspectives and learning more about Japan, their culture, how motherhood is viewed in Japan. Anyway, those are my thoughts so far, and I have been annotating in this book. I have been underlying quotes and writing notes whenever I have some sort of feeling about something. I need to read more Japanese literature, apparently. The title of the story, I have no idea what swallow stands for. I haven't gotten to that part in the book yet where the title connects with the story. Don't have that part here at all yet. But I'm gonna keep reading and hopefully there will be. Somebody pinch me because I cannot believe that I'm saying that this video is in collaboration with Paper Republic. I am no stranger to DIYing journals and creating my own leather-bound journal sleeves. I even made an entire video on how to do this step by step. Let me just say that there is nothing like Paper Republic. Paper Republic is a company based in Austria, and they make beautifully handcrafted leather journal covers. They make their own journal inserts. They make all sorts of different journal goods out of leather, and the quality is just nothing that you can compare to. It's absolutely stunning. One of the things that I love about Paper Republic is that their leather and materials are authentic and sustainable, making sure that they make a positive impact on the environment. And that's something that I focus on and strive to do every single day. I do have 3 of their journals, but there's one that I want to talk about in particular today. This is the first journal that I purchased for myself. This is the Paper Republic Grand Voyager in the pocket size. It's my go-to everyday journal. I keep my Sudoku in here. I keep my library cards in here. I take this to work. We'll unpack this and all of my other journals later. I'll have to do a journal ecosystem video at some point now that I have my 3rd and final journal that I really want to show off. But this is the first Paper Republic that I purchased for myself, and surely not my last. After that, I ended up making my own journals because I decided that I shouldn't be spending money on journaling. So instead, I'm going to spend money to make my own journals to journal in. And that made sense in my head back at that point. But I could not resist, and I had to get myself the Paper Republic Grand Voyager XL version of the pocket. It's just a larger size. I love this leather color. I tried to make myself a larger version of this with the same exact leather color scheme, and the colorway was not the same, and I absolutely am in love with this one. But for the main event, Paper Republic did gift me their Le Portfolio in the size A5, and this is a beautiful red. I am such a fan of this red, and I love how monochromatic it is as well, with the red bands and then the red leather. Paper Republic truly makes quality products that will last you a lifetime and a very, very long time. Paper Republic uses leather that is vegetable tan, full grain, and vachetta, which all this really means is that the leather is soft, it's durable, and it's just gonna patina really well over time. If you don't know what patina means, it's basically the aging process of leather over time. And this is such a special process because everyone's lifestyle is so unique and everyone's environment is so different. So the process of aging of the leather is going to be different from each person. And I think that's so unique and ties back to just the idea of journaling and sharing your stories and your thoughts into a notebook like this, knowing that as you yourself age, the leather is going to age, your writing in your notebook is going to age, and it's all just such a beautiful process of life. Not to get all sentimental and all, but I just love these leather journals because they're going to grow with me as I grow, and that's something so special. You're probably wondering what the heck that I put in my journals, and like I mentioned, I'll do a journal ecosystem in a separate video, but today I thought I would open up this beauty and share the different notebooks and trinkets that I keep. I've been using this journal for about a week now, so there's not a lot that I've added to it just yet, but I'm very excited to just pour my life into this notebook. Let's bring you down just a little bit so you can see all of me, but mostly just the journal right here. The pen that I use mostly for this journal is this Jinhao Dada pen. The number of it is 9019. It's extra fine, and the color of the ink is a blood red. It's not totally black, but it's brownish red enough that it adds a little bit of variety to my writing, and I've really just been enjoying the idea of fountain pens and using them to spice up my writing and just elevating my journaling experience a little bit. So this is a pen that I use specifically for this journal. I take both of these everywhere. Wherever I take both of them, they're both with me. Now let's get into what is actually in my Le Portfolio. What I love about the portfolio is that the front has a bunch of little storage compartments, and so does the back, so I can keep little mementos and favorite pieces, and every time I open up this notebook, I'll think of them because of course I will see them. I'll quickly walk through what's on the front side of my flap. I have a little what is this called? A stencil. I was talking to Mark about this stencil and I couldn't remember the word either. So here we are again. And then I have a photo of myself that Mark took in Denver, Colorado. We went to Meow Wolf, which was this really weird kind of psychedelic experience, and it was not fun for us. Here's the authentication card from Paper Republic. I just keep it there so I can just remember that this is from Paper Republic. And then for the larger slot, I have the little handwritten note from the person who made my leather journal. I have a photo of sweet Mowgli to keep with me forever. My sister went to Portugal for a trip and she brought me back a bookmark of a fish in cork. It feels very interesting. I am too afraid to use it because I don't want to lose it. So I'm just keeping it in here so I can keep it forever. And this is probably one of my favorite postcards for some reason. I have a bunch of these lying around. This is a postcard from Loretta Jeans in Portland. They make handmade pie, cakes, pastries, and treats. So just some fun pieces to keep and look at every time I open it. And now getting into my notebooks and the different compartments. This first little storage compartment has a postcard from Colorado. I really like the idea of opening up my journal and just seeing this. The colors match and complement the leather journal in itself. So that's why I just have it here, kind of like a piece of artwork to look at. And then on the back, I have a card from Hammer Press here in Kansas City. It says, "No whining, no complaining, absolutely no frowning, only hugs, smiles, and warm fuzzy feelings are allowed. Thank you." Moving on to my notebooks. This is my first notebook. This is a photo that I took in college when I went to Denver for a girls' trip. And it says smile. It's just a piece of art on a wall that says smile, and I really like that. This is going to be my commonplace journal. This is going to be where I jot down quotes, any information that I look up, words that I don't know how to understand. This is going to be the place where I do most of my learning, and I can keep track of different topics that I work on. For example, I've been getting into Substack, so if I read anything that I want to remember or read something that I want to think back on and kind of ruminate on, I'll probably add it to my commonplace. Just a place where I can do all of my learning. It doesn't have to be too structured, but in 2026, I want to be better about finding topics that I'm interested in and then diving deeper into those topics so I can educate myself a little bit more. Knowledge is power. And then we have the other half of the compartment. I just have these real life flowers. It's a lipstick plant that's above on my bookshelf. The petals, the flowers that were blooming, they fell. So I decided to press them in here and we'll see how they go. I mean, they kind of just look fun. It's a little spark of beauty for me here. And then on the other side, I have a photo of Mark and me, and then I have a photo of myself when I look like a boy. My mom gave me a little boy's haircut, and that's it. I look like a little baby farmer. This next notebook is very ironic because the postcard says "Ciao Bella Vespa," but underneath, this is my Japanese notebook. Ironic, I know, but here's the thing. When I go to Japan, I'm gonna get myself a Japanese postcard and swap it out. I didn't know what else to put, So this is my placeholder for a Japanese postcard. Yes, I am going to attempt to learn some basic Japanese. Nothing too crazy. Mark and I are going to Japan in 2026. I'm not going to tell you when because that's not safe. But if you have recommendations, please let me know. We are very excited. Mark and I are going to try to learn together so we can practice speaking together. So that's my little Japanese notebook. This is the notebook that came with the Paper Republic. It's just a plain little mini notebook. This next notebook, the postcard that says, write your own story, and underneath I put C'est la vie. This is going to be my junk journal. I want to do better about romanticizing my weeks. I tend to do my morning pages in the morning and then I'll do a quick recap at night. So I'll do 2 full pages of journaling every single day. But in between, I want to make sure I add some artwork, maybe add some junk journaling pages to my journal just so I can remember the small and big moments of life. For this journal, I want it to be more artistic, get a little bit more creative with junk journaling and making more thoughtful spreads. That's the plan at least, and I'm very excited to start this and think more big picture on a weekly basis. And then we have a folder right here that has just random postcards. I can share what they are. Here's one. It's from St. Augustine, Florida by Jenna Alexander Studio. I have another print from Hammer Press. It's a postcard that says, happiness will find you. And then this random postcard as well. I'm not sure where it's from, but I just really like it because I'm a fan of breakfast. And I'm a part of the Sticky Monthly Club. So I get a bunch of stickers, but also sometimes they send postcards as well. This first one's cute. It's a cat from a grocery store. And then this next one is more springtime. It says it's by Hannah Wenio Illustrations. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ooh, this grocery one is art by Julia. Sticky Club, that's the membership. And then this last one's really cute. It's Cauliflower. Art by Cauliflower. Yeah. So just a bunch of different postcards. And then I have Paper Republic sticker that came with the tissue paper for the unboxing. And some more little photos that I took from a while ago. Nothing too crazy. I've just been really enjoying collecting things and I keep them in here so I can remember. And then the back of this leather journal has more compartments. This is a printed out photo of spearmint tea. I wrote about spearmint tea in my commonplace because I wanted to learn a little bit more about it since I was drinking a lot of spearmint tea. And then I just have some more postcards. I have this little folder, I guess, from Cloth and Paper from a while ago, and I just keep some important things in here that I don't need to show you. And that's it. That is what's in my Le Portfolio in red. Thank you so much to Paper Republic. I would say this journal is more so my memory keeping journal and also my learning journal since I have my commonplace and Japanese notebooks in here as well. I don't use this every single day, but I pick it up multiple times a week. I'm very excited, like I mentioned, to see how this ages with me as I keep using it. It's still pretty brand new, so it looks brand new and it doesn't look like it's been used yet. But I promise you, I have been using it just like I have been using my other Paper Republic journals. I don't get commission off of this at all. I do have a link that I've shared down in the description box below. You can get 30% off of any bundles if you want to gift yourself, a loved one. Everyone deserves to treat themselves at some point. So just sharing that code down below, like I mentioned, I get nothing out of it. That is my rant and my share on my new Le Portfolio by Paper Republic, and I am still in shock that they said yes to collaborating with me. How cool is that? Ah, so cool. Okay, back to regular scheduled programming, which is this. Okay, I'm so close to being done with this book. I'm 75% of the way through, and I just want to say that I'm also very proud of myself for reading not only Japanese literature, but also really enjoying what I'm reading so far. I wouldn't say that the story is boring or slow. I feel like the momentum is pretty steady. We have 9 months of Riki being pregnant, right? So we have to follow the pregnancy through, and there are just some hurdles that Riki has to go through, which in my mind, I'm like, you're a stupid idiot. You have a contract. How could you do this? I still can't stop reading for some reason. I don't like any of our characters, except maybe one. I don't like Riki, I don't like Yuko, and I don't like Motoi either. The only character that I really find to be very funny, and I feel like this is such a heavy book, her character is added for some comedic relief. The character is Yuko's best friend, Ririki, and she's so funny. She's this painter who is known for drawing penises, but she does not care for sex or for men at all. She is asexual, and that's also something that I really like about this story. This is an extremely complex story that not only talks about artificial insemination, but it also talks about sexuality as a whole and sexuality being a part of a spectrum, especially with the characters that are being portrayed within this story. And also a comparison that I cannot stop thinking about that actually is brought up a few times is about bodily autonomy and the comparison between sex working and surrogacy. They're both business transactions, bodily business transactions. If you think about it, sex working, you are choosing to expose your body or sell your body for money, for monetary value in return. And that's the same thing with surrogacy. You're choosing to offer up your body to birth a child in exchange for money in Riki's case. So it's just such a fascinating comparison, which I would have never thought of. And I also just want to be clear and say that a woman should be able to do whatever she wants with her body, and no man, no other woman, the government, no one and nothing should tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body. And I believe this to be true in every and any case. Case in point, checkmate. That's it. I am excited to finish this because Riki is at a point where she has to make a pretty big decision, another pretty big decision. So we will see. I will see. I'm not going to tell you, but I will know how the book ends, and then we'll wrap up with a overall final review. And also with that, we are on week 11 of The Artist's Way, and I realized that I haven't actually talked to you about my thoughts on week 11 of The the artist's way. This chapter was a pretty short one too. This chapter is called Recovering a Sense of Autonomy, and the main key pieces or themes are regarding acceptance, we have success, and then the Zen of sports, which makes sense after I read it, but you probably don't know what that even means. So let me tell you. Julia Cameron reminds us that we are all artists and we should experiment with creativity regardless of what the outcome is, and regardless of if we think that creative pursuit is ugly or not good enough, or maybe it's bad, dumb, silly. Regardless of all of that, you're still an artist. Being an artist doesn't mean that you have to be good or bad at art. Being an artist just means that you enjoy creating things, and that's what makes you an artist. So it's important for us to accept that and just be willing to create for the fun of it. I think a barrier that we all struggle with, whether it be at work or at home or when you're playing with art, is the idea of success. Edward Hopper says, "No amount of skillful invention can replace the essential element of imagination." In this section, Julia Cameron wants us to redefine what success means to us and not tie it to a monetary value or something financial. To me, success when I create art is being able to be proud of the work that I am creating, to be able to just enjoy the process and the moment of it all. That's what success should mean to me. I think that also ties into acceptance, accepting our art for what it is, and just being happy and proud of what we're creating. And once we define our success, we can let go of the pressure and the perfectionism that really holds us back from creating art that we can be proud of. Julia Cameron says that creativity requires action, and part of that action must be physical. And she's tying it back to the idea of feeling inspired when we're moving out and about, exploring nature, being out and doing something that's not inside of your home where you're cooped up. That's where your inspiration might come from. She says that when we move our body, we strengthen our minds to connect to a world outside of us and to lose the obsessive self-focus of self-exploration and just to enjoy simply exploring. I really like this quote. She says that exercising moves us from stagnation to inspiration. I never thought that physical activity would be tied to the artist's way or the idea of inspiration and creativity, but it totally makes sense. We have to move our body to be healthy for not only the mind, the body, but also our soul. The definition of exercise is the act of bringing into play or realizing in action. So exercise is so important, and it's also important for imagination and creativity. And last bit, we are meant to celebrate the good things on this earth. I ended up finishing Swallows, and I actually really enjoyed how the story ended. And I'm not going to tell you because that's not who I am. I don't give things away, even if you're planning on reading this book or not. Just message me if you want to know how the story ends, and I'll let you know. Swallows is such a complex story about sex for pleasure, but also sex for reproduction. It's also a story about motherhood, bodily autonomy, and the socioeconomic effects on womanhood. I don't remember if I mentioned this, but this is actually translated by Lisa Hoffman Curado. The author is Natsuo Kirino, born in 1951, and the most popular literary writers in modern Japan. She won the Grand Prix for crime fiction in Japan for her 1998 novel Out, as well as one of Japan's major literary awards, the Naoki Prize for Soft Cheeks, coming soon from NOF. Coming soon, I might just have to reach out to the publisher and ask if I could get a copy of Soft Cheeks and maybe read out for my thriller horror experience, since this clearly was not either of those things. Overall, I really enjoyed reading from all three characters' point of views and following along through their journey, even though I didn't really like them by the end of the story. It was extremely interesting reading from both Riki and Yuko's point of views because they come from quite the opposite backgrounds. Riki being from a less wealthy class, while Yuko coming from a more predominant family and just has the backing of her husband, who is extremely wealthy as well. So there is a balance between similarities yet differences between these two women. Just because they come from different backgrounds doesn't mean that their idea of womanhood is different. And that's what I appreciated about this book. At a point, they both share how they're feeling about the situation and the surrogacy, and it's pretty eye-opening to both of them that they have some similarities and understandings of one another, and that was really nice to read from, especially since the story was a little bit chaotic. I really enjoyed this book, and I'm so glad that I read it. We're going to end this vlog right here. I will see you next week for the last week of The Artist's Way, week 12, and it's also going to be the week of Christmas, and I have some time off, so it should be fun. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video next week. Bye!